What's up, y'all? So I recently bought a new pedal, and this one's a little bit cheaper. I found it on Amazon thanks to a friend of mine suggesting it to me, and it's actually the Rigel Preamp from Joyo Audio. Now, I had my reservations about this pedal considering its price. It was $55 at the time of me filming this video, so it's pretty cheap. It was a Black Friday sale. I think it's usually like $70. Now, this being a preamp pedal, this does not have like impulse responses or anything built into it. So if you just plug it in, it's not going to sound great. You do need to run an impulse response after it, but I was ridiculously surprised by this little pedal. I don't honestly know what it is supposed to be modeling, but it's got a ton of options for such a little pedal and for such a cheap pedal, to be honest with you. As far as the onboard preamp and everything goes, you do have the bass, middle, treble, drive, volume, and then you have a feel switch which has 3 different positions. You have a mod switch which has 3 different positions, and then you have a bright switch that is on and off. So directly from Joyo's website, these switches do a couple of different things. So the feel toggle switch controls the tightness, which it does really well, honestly. It's able to have its bass cranked up and actually still sound really tight and really chuggy for the type of playing that I do. The mod switch supposedly contains about 3 different like tube head sounds to it, which would be crunch, rhythm, and lead. And then the bright switch does pretty much exactly what it sounds like it does. It brightens it up. It sounds like they're putting a high shelf somewhere in there. Now, another cool feature that it has, and I hope I can get this on camera here, it's not on right now, but it does have red LED lights that are rimming the underside of it here, which is cool because if it's on a pedal board like I have it, it's probably going to illuminate the other pedals. It's not the brightest light in the world, but it does do the job. Now, disclaimer here, I don't know what other amp or pedal this is modeled after, so don't come at me in the comments here because I just bought it because a friend said that it sounded sick, and he was right. Honestly, let's jump in and see how this sounds. Alright, so now we're inside of Logic here, and I'm going to go through what I have this set up through. So right now I'm going directly into the Rigel Preamp. I do have an overdrive plugged in because we're going to try that in a little bit with it as well. But right now the overdrive is off, the preamp pedal itself is off, and I do have this going into a plugin called Cabinetron, and this is an impulse response loader. The impulse responses that I have going through it are specifically the ones from King Studios. This is the King's Cab number 50, and then the Andriel. I don't know how to pronounce that one, but they sound pretty sick. Now this is what the guitar tone sounds like without the pedal on at all. So essentially the DI signal with the impulse response, so nothing going on here. So let's go ahead and click it on. You'll notice that I have the bass, mid, and treble at basically noon. The drive is cranked pretty far down, and then the volume is up a little bit. But let's go ahead and see what that sounds like with just this. The bright switch is off, by the way. I think you could call that a pretty good crunch tone with literally just everything at noon. So let's go ahead and start flipping some knobs here. Let's go ahead and take the bright switch and flip it up. So the bright switch obviously brightened up that signal quite a bit. It does feel like it added a little bit of gain to it as well. Not sure if it actually did, but it feels like it. Speaking of feel, let's go ahead and crank the feel all the way up. So first position here. Middle position. Not a huge difference. All the way down in the feel position. Alright, I think I like that one the most. It's a little bit more chunky. Alright, so we've been playing with the mod switch all the way down, so let's flip it all the way up. Definitely lost a little bit of the gain there, and so I think that's changing it into the real crunch mode. Let's go to mod 2. So that would be like a rhythm channel on an amp. It actually sounds pretty good. And then if we go all the way down, it's supposed to be the lead channel on an amp. So you can hear the gain is just being slowly raised, right? So let's go ahead and crank the drive knob now. I'm going to crank it way up and see what kind of gain we can get out of this thing. Alright, so that's sounding pretty sick. Now we need to crank the mids and the treble a little bit, so let's go ahead and go for the treble first. Dude, this literally has some serious chunk to it. I'm actually very surprised by this pedal, and I've already played through it once, so this is still my real reaction to how great this actually sounds. Let's go ahead and crank the mids a little bit and see how those sound. Bring the mids back down. So those mids are actually quite responsive. There's a lot happening when you crank that mids knob. I think I like it a little bit further up. Now, I want to hear this with an overdrive pedal though, because all of this is great. It actually sounds really, really nice as it is. And I could definitely gig with this if I was going into a power amp, or if I was going into a guitar cabinet, or even straight into the front of house with an IR loader. Like I know Boss makes an IR loading pedal that you can buy and just put on your pedal board. But let's see how it would sound with an overdrive that's external. So I've got the Opaque drive over here, and I'm going to bring the gain down on the Joyo pedal itself. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Opaque drive on my normal settings, which is level, like not all the way up, but not too far down either. The tone is brought down a little bit here, and we're on the boost mode here. So here's before the boost, and here's with the boost. All right, that actually really sounds good. Let's go ahead and crank the bass a little bit and see how that sounds with some added bass from the pedal itself. All right, I'm actually seriously impressed by this, and I have a lot of gear around my room here that doesn't sound as great as this little $55 pedal, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, using a pedal like this could be a really bare bones setup. I love how it sounds with an overdrive, but as you heard, it doesn't really need an overdrive if you don't have the room for one on a pedal board, or you just don't want to use an overdrive. It sounds pretty damn good on its own, if you're asking me. Now, if you were to use this as like a standalone rig to play live, again, you would need an impulse response loading pedal like the one from Boss, or you would need to run it through a power amp and into a cab. And either way, this would still sound really sick. Obviously, the cab that you get would determine the final sound here, because I'm using a pretty sick impulse response here in Logic. But for my purposes, this can literally just sit on my pedal board here at home, and I have yet another flavor of gain and distortion that I'm able to choose from when I'm writing songs. And I'm pretty stoked to start writing some stuff with this, honestly. It's a great little pedal I really highly recommend checking out, especially if it's still on sale, because it's a great deal at this price. But what are your thoughts? Let me know what you think about this pedal and the tones that I was able to make with it. Do you think you could make something better? If so, let me know what I could have done a little bit better here inside of this tone test to make an even better guitar tone out of it. I'm honestly pretty stoked on what I've made already, but this is just the beginning. I've got a lot of other impulse responses that I'm going to check out and try out with this as well. But yeah, that's it for now. This was a quick video. I just had to show you all what this sounded like, and I'm pretty stoked on it, so look out for some more videos in the future. Peace.